I'm on Facebook. All right.
I'm gonna try and mic up too.
Miss Washington, Kim said she's working on her sound right now, so we could probably, there she is.
All right, you guys hear me?
Yep.
We're good. I believe we're live on video. Bear with me, guys. Go ahead and start this in 1 second. Okay, all right. I believe it's going. All right. Okay, did we get Miss Kim back?
I threw my mic on. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started while we wait for Miss Kim to handle her mic issues. Everybody, thanks for joining today, another Taj Tuesday. We have a special Taj Tuesday this week in light of recent incidents going around the nation. We wanted to be able to provide a platform with the police department.
Something is mute.
We have
It's supposed to be on click.
Mayor of Hamden, Connecticut on with us as well today to go ahead and discuss the topics going on in
Maybe
there.
that was my microphone.
Oh, I apologize, guys. But yeah. So today on our panel we have Mayor of Hamden, Curt Leng. How you doing, Mayor? Thanks for joining.
Hey, good evening. Thanks very much.
We also have the Deputy Assistant, John Sullivan with the Hamden Police Department. John, thanks for coming. We also have Samperi, Captain, Hamden PD. You go ahead and give us a wave. There we go. Detective Sean Dolan, Hamden PD. We have Miss Kim Washington, President of the Mothers Demand Action. Thanks for coming.
Can you hear me, Tosh?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm all set.
Okay. Okay. We have my good friend Rich Mutts, artist and founder director of the Born Rich Foundation. The big part in setting this whole thing up. Rich Mutts, thank you very much for all the work that you did this weekend and getting everybody together. We have Jimmy Ogbaa, CEO of my executive room. Jimmy, thanks for coming. We have Officer Nick D'Angelo, Hamden PD, my former teammates over at Hamden High, and Lieutenant Joe Murgo of the East Haven Police Department. Joe, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
So,
Taj, I don't want to interrupt Taj, but I will be remiss not to mention the gentleman on the galley. I don't want to, the Galaxy 5'8". I don't think you mentioned him. And,
oh man, you want? I don't. That was all the names I had, man.
so he could, sir, do you mind to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Ron Smith. I'm a captain here at Hamden PD.
There we go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Captain Smith. So now about the Hamden Legends, Rich, I know you were heavily involved in forming the Hamden Legends and coming together with Miss Kim and Jimmy. Do you guys want to go ahead and give a brief explanation, how it started, what was the inspiration behind it, and what you guys do?
Well, Taj, that's a simple and a complex question all on its own. I can only speak for myself amongst the Hamden Legends, some of these legendary people that are in your chat right now. And I only know one way to do it. Because one of the things that I want you to understand is Hamden Legends is about perspective, right? So when we talk about what makes each individual Hamden Legends, it's our commitment, it's our perspective. So this is a fireside chat. So I figured I would make it a fireside chat by explaining it the best way I know how. So just bear with me for 1 second.
No problem.
All right. So last night I had a dream. I told Eric Garner to breathe. Nah, last night I had a dream. I told George Floyd to breathe. While I'm standing on top of mountains, shouting, screaming out peace. I got no beef with the police, but it's time we open both eyes. Because every time I turn on my TV, my people die. Now am I out of line for thinking we stronger if we unite? Side by side, unity starts with you and I. Because when you and I combine with a little compromise, we place our pride up on the shelves and throw our egos to the side. Now, I know a lot of y'all are looking at me like, what is this guy talking about? What does that got to do with Hamden Legends? But from my perspective, that's what makes us Hamden Legends. We're a group of individuals from socioeconomic, different backgrounds. We all may have cohabitated in the same town at one point, but we bring different perspective to the table. My perspective may be very different from somebody on this platform, another legend, on the current climate of the community. There may be somebody in Nova Scotia watching your Facebook right now that is looking outside their window or watching their television saying, look at all that anger that's going on. Why are these people so angry in the streets? My perspective of it is fear. Less anger, fear, and you know what, more importantly, trauma. So how does that relate to the Hamden Legends? We were able to, over a year ago, co-collaborate, bring our own perspectives to the table. I now know better what it's like to wake up and be a police officer, a little glimpse into the world of an officer through a conversation that me and Lieutenant Murgo had, where he said, I have to wake up every day and kiss my wife and my daughter, not knowing whether I'm going to come home. So there's a part of me before that was like, don't trust police or this and that, because you just see things where the media portrays, but just having these collective conversations allows me to bring my perspective to the table so they can understand me better, and also allows me to leave with their perspective as well. So as far as what I think a Hamden Legend is, I think it's a great group of individuals co-collaborating, putting their pride and egos aside for a moment, and able to at least be empathetic or sympathetic to others' perspective. So that, these esteemed guests are all legendary, and there's more Hamden Legends throughout the country. So they might have something different, a different perspective on just what a legend is, but that's just me.
Okay, nice. And it's same thing that you were saying, about that phone call that you had with Joe, and speaking about empathy and sympathy, things like that. We spoke briefly inside the room before about things that I've seen on my police friends' timelines, and seeing things on the news where people come together and police officers actually showing sympathy and walking with the protesters and kneeling with the protesters, things like that. And that's kind of like I'll reiterate it again, that's kind of like the reason why I wanted to go ahead and get this together, put this together to be able to have fireside conversation with some police officers. We had the Mayor of Hamden inside here. The whole room is full of people that care, right? Everyone in here wants to see things change. Everybody in here, wants to see a difference in the community, and that's why I'm sure that's why they became officers, right? Because you want to go ahead and serve, protect, and want to help people, right? That's why there's the Born Rich Foundation. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that everybody inside this room. There's nobody here all for themselves, if that makes any sense. We're all here to help people, and that's what that's the reason for today. Now, moving forward, Rich, would you like to go over a summary of the case? I mean, I know everybody, we've all witnessed it. I'm sure we've all seen the video. If you want to go ahead and just give your insight on the happenings in Minnesota with George Floyd, and if you'd like to go ahead and touch up on Ahmaud Arbery a little bit, just to get the conversation going,
Awesome. Yeah, not a problem, Taj, and thank you. Obviously, we've been hit strong as a community and as a nation by the coronavirus pandemic. And then on top of that, we have these other tragic events that are happening with the Ahmaud Arbery case, unfortunate incident, and now the George Floyd. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know where they stand as far as the legal aspect of it. You know, it's a court decision now at this point. But what I want everybody to know is it seems as though there's hey Zoe, it seems as though there's, you know, this is a national tragedy, a worldwide tragedy, especially there's something different about this one. So where we are today is we have to stand united, and obviously look at these great leaders that are in here today. So so to give an update on just 2 cases, I would probably doing a disservice for the long history of things that have been going on. So where we are with the cases is kind of smaller as to where we must start from today moving forward. So I'm quite sure that one of these great esteemed members would want to chime in and just talk about where we are as a nation, or even town of Hamden, town of East Haven, you know.
Yeah, sure. You know, if maybe somebody from the Hamden Police Department, if you guys want to go ahead and chime in on, you know, just you know, maybe just your overall feelings on the situation, things that happened in Minneapolis, the Ahmaud Arbery case. You know, the panel is yours, fellas.
You know, speaking of the George Floyd case specifically, we collectively at the police department here are absolutely appalled and disgusted by the actions that we saw within the Minneapolis Police Department. What was equally as disturbing to us was the fact that 3 other officers stood by and watched as Mr. Floyd, life was being choked out of Mr. Floyd. That 8-minute of video really has discredited a lot of the hard work we've done here at the Hamden Police Department in trying to bring ourselves and our community closer together. So we're, you know, really, you know, extremely upset by what has happened. And, you know, we're paying the price because we've worked very hard to bring our community together. We have a Citizens Police Academy. We do things with our kids here, with our youth. We have toy drives, food drives. We work tirelessly to bring our community close together. In this one incident, you know, we feel like we have to start at ground zero.
Yeah, it's, you know, and unfortunately, you guys, you know, it kind of like hit the reset button on you. You know, you do all this work to go ahead and, you know, try to make things, you know, more understanding. You know, you guys doing things in the department to bring the community together. One of the things that I saw, which, you know, I wish I was in town for, a cup of coffee with a cop. You guys did that. I saw that on my timeline a few times. You know, if you just have a cup of coffee, have a conversation. I feel that, you know, through a lot of things that happen, you know, just like you said, you guys had a reset button, right? I feel like every single time something like this happens, that reset button is hit, and we all have to work harder to go ahead and bring things back together. You know, I do applaud you guys for your efforts out there in Hamden. I think the thing that you've been doing, go ahead, try to move forward and bring the community together with the police department. That is very much appreciated. I also saw today that you guys had a march today. Would you like, did we lose the mayor? Mayor Leng? Oh, we lost him. That's fine. Were any of you at the march today?
Taj, I know that in my work in Hamden, as far as I've done a lot of, I've had the opportunity to work alongside Deputy Assistant Sullivan and Captain Samperi on toy drives as of late. And I know that they're very active in the community. I know that a lot of officers are, but I've actually had an opportunity to rub shoulders with them. So would either of you like to chime in on the anything that's been going on in Hamden at this moment?
Yeah, Rich, I'll talk. So, you know, I've been here 16 and a half years, and for about 14 of that, I've been part of the community division as either an SRO or a police explorer, instructor, or just a regular community bike patrol, anything like that. We're doing something yearly. You know, Thanksgiving we're doing food drives. Christmas time we're doing toy drives. Every Monday we're doing explorer meetings with kids. Every Wednesday we're doing. We're down at the youth center with the kids. So I mean, we are tirelessly working with the community. Chief Capiello just put together a full-time community division, which Captain Samperi oversees. We have right now a sergeant and 4 full-time people in there that, you know, that's their job. They're out there handling neighbor troubles, handling neighborhood complaints, Blythe complaints. So we, you know, from the day I got here, the model here was always community first, you know. As far as the Floyd thing, I kind of want to touch on that a little bit. I know Captain Smith had spoke about it, but as far as me as a patrolman, you know, it's scary to see that. You know, I go out every day, and Taj, you know, it's a lot like football team. You know, I go out and I know who I'm with, and I trust that they're going to do the right thing, just like, you know, when me and you were playing line together. You know, I had your back, you had my back, and that's the mentality we have. And it's scary knowing that somebody could do that and put my life, my family's life in jeopardy. You know, those cops that stood there and didn't do nothing, their lives are going to change for the rest of their life. Who knows if they were intimidated by the other guy? But, you know, they all have a duty to act. We have a duty to safely arrest somebody. And when they're in our custody, we have a duty to make sure they're okay. And that didn't happen. And it's scary that it didn't happen. And I know it's terrifying for the public, and it's just as terrifying for us. Maybe not, you know, not as terrifying, but it's scary for us that, you know, you think you're entrusting your life in somebody that's to the left and to the right of you, and they're not doing the right thing, and then all of a sudden your life changes because they choose not to do the right thing. So, you know, it's affecting us all. I don't think any of us have slept. I know I haven't slept in about 5 days, 6 days, you know, so. But, you know, here at Hamden, we're trying to do what we can. You know, we're working tirelessly, and we're doing everything we can. And we just, you know, but people need to have patience with us too. You know, change doesn't happen overnight. We can start. I think this is a great start. You know, we're opening up our hearts to you guys. We're opening up our you know, any questions, you know, just have patience with us, and hopefully we can make a better future.
Thanks a lot for that, Nick. Appreciate it. We have Mayor Leng here. Mayor, you wanted to add to that?
I did, if you don't mind. You know, I'm not a police officer, and I've never stood in their shoes, but, you know, combining kind of the talk about Hamden Legends to start off with, and then moving into what happened with Mr. Floyd. I met Richie Mutts coming into this office because he was interested in helping the town out when our police department was having some problems with some issues in the community. And this is a little over a year ago now, I think. Time kind of goes by, you know, pretty quick with all the stuff that's been happening in the world. And I don't think I've ever been more struck and moved by the premise that he brought in. He said, listen, you know, we have all these different things we could do. And we're talking about programs, and we're talking about youth activities, and we're talking about good positive things that can happen. But I didn't know he was an artist at the time. And he was talking more about the documentary he'd worked on and about some of the music he worked on. And he just looked at me, he said, everybody that's in this situation, people of color, especially younger people of color, but all people of color, and the police officers, they're both having the same feelings because they're afraid they're not going to go home.
Yeah.
And it just struck me. And it's like, it's the same fear. It's the fear of what's going to happen with this stop. What's going to happen with this walk? What's going to happen with this patrol? And both sides are having that same feeling. So I want to just throw that out there because it's incredibly powerful to me. And I think that the more that we can get people to communicate and to connect as people and realize that those feelings are there, you know, community wide and on both sides, it allows people to break down that barrier a little bit more and understand each other. You know,
Yeah.
almost like you would if you're having a conversation at a picnic or you're having a conversation with a neighbor or what have you. And then on the murder of George Floyd, what struck me was the sheer callousness of the officer that was on his neck as number one. And he didn't say he couldn't breathe once and nobody could hear him. This is one of those videos where you're watching something that you don't ever want to ever see happen, period, right? And you're watching it and you're almost in disbelief that there's not a moment when it clicks in, like, you know, something happened to the guy and, you know, oh my God, I can't believe I've been doing this for this long. And there was no feeling, no humanity in the face as I watched it.
No.
As that poor guy saying, I can't breathe, right? And then as my officers here said, the other officer stood by. And the other officers didn't so much as say, hey, you know, okay, cool a little bit. Come off, you know, in minute 1, minute 2, minute 3, minute 4, because that could have been the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't for the life of me understand why. I can understand, so I can think of the reasons, but I can understand why, when it really came down to it, somebody didn't nudge and break that situation up, because that never had to happen.
Yeah, very sad and unfortunate. You know, there was people there. I mean, we all saw the video, and people there sitting there, you know, telling the officer that, you know, he was non-responsive. And I mean, even after the guy stopped moving, I mean, there's still really no reason to stay on his neck like that. It's very sad and unfortunate. Very sad and unfortunate. Mayor Leng, could you touch on that? I saw that you guys had a march there today. I believe it was on Dixwell. Do you want to just talk about the reaction to that? Was it positive? You know, did the people have a voice today? Any words on that?
So I can give, you know, I wasn't there to receive the call, but our police department received a call from the Hassan Center. It's a mosque in southern Hamden. And their family has been involved in community things for a long time. And Imam Hassan Sr. passed away just a little while ago. I think it might have been December or January. And they reached out to Hamden Police and said, you know, we would like to do a march down Dixwell Avenue and you know, give our message about what happened with Mr. Floyd. And our PD, you know, I'm very proud to say, not only said, yeah, we'll help you and we'll work to organize and to make sure that it can be done safely, but they said, we want to march with you. And, you know, that was powerful to me. And there wasn't hesitation about it. There wasn't you know, I'm not sure, maybe we'll just send a person or two. You know, we had 10, 12, 15 people plus bikes, and this is up and above traffic control, that were marching, and I of course, you know, was very proud to pop in and march with them from point A to point Z. And before I let the police give their perspective, because I want to hear what they have to say, I want to say that you asked me what the reaction was. It was almost universally positive as we walked down, and it's like about 5.5 miles, I think. So you had a lot of time to kind of absorb what people were saying, and people were beeping. They were, you know, they were you know, saying, you know, some of the things like I can't breathe, but you know, they were pointing to people that they knew and like kind of like giving them thumbs up that they were making the statement. And I can't say that there was one instance the whole time where anyone, frankly, was a fool and, you know, did something stupid and said something, you know, that was inappropriate, or, you know, it was, so I thought that was really good, because, you know, there's always, you know, one bad apple in the container, right? But it didn't happen. And the other thing I want to mention is that it wasn't just a march that was, for lack of a better word, you know, a PR, you know, some kind of a PR event. They called, PD said, yeah, we're going to be in it. And then the proof was really in the pudding, because throughout the walk today, if only we could have had, you know, somebody listening and recording over, because there were conversations happening throughout the entire protest, walk, march, between our people in the PD and the members of the religious community. And there were some delicate questions, some uncomfortable questions, and dialogue happening. And it was exactly what has to happen on a bigger community-wide basis. And it was happening right in that walk, right between, you know, upper brass of our PD and our residents that said just the day before, hey, I want to, you know, express this protest. And it was really remarkable.
Yeah, it caught my eye going through the timeline, you know, seeing the Hamden PD walk with the marchers. Kind of made me be proud of being from Hamden. You know, you see on the news all the different, you know, states and cities have, you know, colliding with their police forces and things like that. And then, you know, you see in different cities, the police officers kneeling and walking. I'm proud to be from a town that's doing the walking as well. Thank you very much, guys. So let's see here. Well, moving on. Okay, we'll go ahead and start filtering some questions in. Does anybody else? Matter of fact, I apologize. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Joe, I would like to hear from you, if you can. You know, I don't want you to give us everything that's on the documentary, but could you let us know how it is? I mean, you know, it's obvious. You know, you're a Black cop in East Haven, and could you tell us, you know, some of the things that you see on a day-to-day basis? Have you yourself ever faced any kind of racism or anything like that from fellow police officers? Or, you know, I'm sure you have a good story.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, let me thank you and Rich for inviting me on this platform. You know how I feel about you guys, top notch, and that's why I'm here to support anything you guys ask of me. Secondly, you know, let me just give my deepest condolences to Mr. Floyd and his family. You know, I can't imagine what they are going through right now, especially in the aftermath and all the events that have led up to this conversation right here. You know, it's a tragedy, but it opens up a conversation that I feel is important, and you guys do too. You know, I've been a cop for 17 years. I got on the police force in 2003. You know, right when politics was changing. When I got out, policing was a certain way, and that's how it was. But I always knew that you know, I had an opportunity to interject some of my life experiences and change a culture that historically has been looked at as racist. And you know, to top that off, it was, you know, several years. 1997 was Malik Jones, and 2003 is when I got on. But it was several years later when all that stuff was still fresh in people's minds. So it was always my goal to sort of, you know, change that perception on policing and do that by just being myself, being a kid who grew up in North Haven, grew up a kid that showed up at parties where Rich was at and where Antosh was at. And, you know, we just kicked it from way back. And you know, it's my experience as an East Haven police officer where these conversations need to be had. And in the documentary, I had an opportunity to share a story that really hit home for me when my daughter was first born, and she had you know, some technical difficulties. She was a premature little baby, and I spent hours and hours and hours at the hospital for different appointments here and there. A lot of my time was spent at Yale Children's Hospital, and there were times when I had to show up to an appointment either during my regular shift or right after I got out of work, and I would always be in some variation of a uniform, either, you know, my uniform pants and my boots, or my full uniform. No matter how I was dressed, it was in some variation of identifiable as a police officer. So I'm sitting there one day, it's my wife, myself, and my baby girl, and I hear a young black man with a 2 or 3 year old child tell that child to take a good look at me, look me up and down, and explain to that child that anybody who wears my uniform shouldn't be trusted and can't be trusted. You know, and I remember telling Rich with almost tears in my eyes saying, you know, I just remember that feeling. And I remember thinking to myself, you know, this is probably the most influential person in this child's life telling them not to trust me by just the mere sight of me. And that really hit home. And I sat down and I wondered why. You know, when you think about where we are in America, and you think about me being an African-American police officer, you think, all right, I go to work for 8 hours a day, and then the rest of my day, I'm a black man in America, and a lot of times in possession of a gun, right? So I work with some of the best people, the best individuals that I've ever met. And I can tell you that my police department has gone through so many strides and so many changes that, you know, I'm confident that a lot of these things are in the past for the East Haven Police Department. But how do I relay that to a young black man in America? How do I relay that to somebody right now who's watching this Facebook Live or that is watching the TV that sees images of police mistreating their community? And that is why we're here. You know, I think it's the culture that lies within police departments historically, which is to blame. And, you know, it comes from the top, it comes from your elected officials, and it trickles down like that. So that's why it's never been more important for people to get out, show your voice, just like the whole world is watching with people protesting. And some people may be using this platform to do the wrong things, which is to destroy your community, when you can use that same rage, that same fire, that same exact passion and put it to good use. You know, there are local elections that we have the power. You have the power to craft a community that fits your community. And it starts at that the politics level. It starts at the leadership at the top of police departments that create the culture, that create the norm within those four walls. And you relay it to the young, impressionable officers whose brains are like sponges, who come to a police force to experience a family, you know, and it's our responsibility as leaders, as high-ranking officials, to provide the correct culture, the correct family, the correct feeling for these young guys. And that will translate to treating the community correctly.
Yeah.
You know, Joe, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I remember when we spoke to the documentary, you spoke about your experience when Kyle was young. And I always wondered, we grew up from a culture where, especially Black and brown men and women or people of color, it was kind of like, you're a sellout if you want to be a cop. And you got in the game young. I think you were 21 years old, correct? So I can imagine the backlash that you got from not, from your own community, from people that, you know, may look like you, walk like you, talk like you, grow up with you. So I thank you for sharing your experience, because I'm sure that was tough on you as a lot of officers. And I'm sure, and let's take color out of it for the second. Like, I'm sure the other officers have, dude, what are you doing at some point, you know? And I would like you to answer that, but and after that, I would like to, you know, kind of hear from Jimmy O and Kim Washington, because Jimmy O is huge in the music industry and influences, to see that side of it. And also Kim is deeply rooted in grassroots. But Joe, please feel free. And then I would like to open the floor to Kim and Jimmy.
Yeah, I'll just end it with, you know, you don't have to fit that mold of what a police officer is perceived to be. And I say perceived to be because, you know, police officers are human beings. We kiss our families goodbye at the beginning of the day, and we kiss our families hello at the end of the day, if we're lucky enough to get there. We have emotions, we have feelings, and I think the cycle that you see that perpetuates itself over and over again is exactly what your song Home is about, where it's just that cycle. The police officer is afraid of that car that he's approaching right now. The people inside that car are afraid of the police officer that's walking up to their car. And it's that misunderstanding, it's that encounter that sometimes goes wrong. And it could be for no other reason than they just got off on the wrong foot because they don't understand themselves, you know? So I think a lot of education needs to be had in the community as well as, you know, within those four walls at the police departments around the nation. And we're lucky enough to have, you know, pretty good training up here in the Northeast. And I really think it shows. So when things happen like this in states far away, we shake our heads with the rest of the community. We stand with the rest of the community. We know it's not right. And that's why we're here having this conversation.
I think that's super awesome. I would like to, you know, touch base with my good friend and my brother, Jimmy Ogbaa, located in Austin, Texas. Texas right now. Jim, you're a man of many hats. You know, you like to deal with the traumas, social, emotional wellness of individuals, and kind of dive a little deeper than the surface top. What are you seeing going on from the perspective? And you were one of the great minds behind the home records and told me to frame the emotions in a certain way and put together the project. But what are you seeing from the culmination of all this where you are or in your walk of life?
First and foremost, thank you guys for having me on. I have to be very direct and very honest. There's a lot of pain in the community. But when I speak of pain, emotions, hurt, it's not just Black. It's not just whites. It's not just what your skin color is or what's going on. I just think if I was to look at America as a brand, I just think the nation, like the brand, is suffering in a sense, right? But the type of person that I am, I'm very resilient based on personal trauma, based on different challenges, whether it's social injustice, whether it's racism, whether it's my own innate stubbornness or poor decisions. We all have a past, and we deal with adversities. And as you deal with these adversities and you overcome them, you build up resiliency. Working with Hamden, first and foremost, I mean, I pride myself as being somebody that made it out in a positive way. And something innately was telling me I got to do something for back home. Rich, we got together. You see my journey, you see when I was doing in the entertainment industry, and I was bringing a lot of artists from Connecticut. Over 18 artists would pile up in my house and we'll experience a music festival in Austin, Texas once a year. And I started seeing the disadvantage a lot of people had when it came to communication, when it came to education. And as I would travel back home, we reconnected and we formed a bond, and you expressed yourself in the music. And I never seen anybody be so sensitive to what was going out in the communities. You didn't normalize it, and it felt very real and authentic. So I challenged you to put that narrative in a digital format and for us to shoot a documentary. Now, initially, it didn't make sense, but I knew that there was something special that was happening. And that dialogue, just the narrative and the communication, was going to turn into something bigger than just music. While we was creating the documentary, we also engaged with Emma Jones, and she started speaking about her son that suffered police brutality. And initially I was like, this is going to be training and all that. And when I got on the phone with Emma Jones, with you, and she started explaining about, you know, going to the hospital and viewing the body, and when they're lifting her son up, bullets was falling out of his body. It hit a certain turning point for me. And I started thinking about my own brother that passed away. He didn't pass away from police brutality. He ended up being hit by a car, and the trauma, I was the first one to go identify the body, call my family members, hear everybody's initial reaction. And that conversation broke me, and it changed me. And the change that happened in me internally made me understand that we have a fiduciary duty for the community. So it was very refreshing to hear the message you was making in your music. And as we started developing the creative assets and trying to figure out how to bring this to the marketplace, we started gaining allies. And your visuals was on television. We started developing a fan base locally. And then something happened in Hamden, and you was like, I gotta go see the mayor. I gotta go to the mayor. I'm going. I'm like, what are you gonna do at the mayor's office, man? What are you gonna do there? So I just want to have a conversation. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna support you on that. And we started planning. You went, you had a part one with the mayor, and we started gaining more allies. Miss Washington somehow, some way was connected with us, and she's like a mother to all of us. And she had her own report and her own relationship with the mayor, and she was able to fast track a part two. And then we all got in a circle. We started meeting, and that's when the magic happened. And we was planning on a program, Hamden Legends. We wanted to do something, have a weekend full of activities, tasks, information, framework. All I wanted to do was bring that synergy that we had in Austin, Texas, back home to Hamden, Connecticut. And create a platform for these kids that may be misunderstood, and also rebrand the town that made me understand perspective, that made me be in classrooms with different walks of life. I have white friends. I have Asian friends. I can understand it from different. I used to stay the night at other cultures and eat Italian food and different foods. I'm a foreigner. I was born in Nigeria. I learned culture in different walks of life from Hamden, and nothing is going to take that away. And it shaped this ideation called Hamden Legends. And I knew there was something special. Even in the music and everything that you created, it's sad to say that the subject matters is forever going to be evergreen. And like the songs you made a year ago, it's the soundtrack for what's happening right now, and it will probably happen 10, 20 years from now. But what I think was very impressive and the point of impact was the police department, the mayor, how everybody came together and they listened and they was open. And before we even tackle social injustice, just even having a digital platform, being able to say, oh, I get this. I want to try this. We're open to this. Jim, you got our support. The captain was like, man, we're going to give you all the police. We're going to give you all the support, everything. Like the amount of resources that was coming from the leaders in the community blew my mind. And I said, this isn't just music and marketing and having a good time and reconnecting selfishly with some of the students that I went to school with, for, hey, Mr. Teacher who may have wrote me off in high school, hey, look at what I'm doing, look at who I am today. And I feel like the platform and the communication we've all been having collectively has empowered a certain moral code. Now, I'm speaking in pain right now for the community. Like, I'm hurt. Like, I want to cry on this thing. I'm holding back tears. My son is in the other room, and there's no shy way to not binge watch everything that's going on social media and all that extra stuff and trying to hide it from my kid and all this. It's disappointing. It's very sad. There's questions that may be appropriate for this platform. There may be questions that's appropriate offline, but I'm a solutions guy. And I just want to really express, I came to this platform, Taj, thank you. I came to Taj Tuesdays with just 3 things that I want to give to the community. And the 3 things that I want to express is, there's 3 steps for me with social injustice, racism, anything, whatever you want to call it, right? First step is education. You have to have a certain level of education. whether it's the multicultural education, understanding perspective from different walks of life or people's position, or even just regular education to make you successful and give you the principles and concepts for you to stand tall as a man. Number 2 is financial literacy. Financial literacy or some type of financial freedom or group economics, I think that's very important. And the last step for me is morals. You have to have morals. There has to be a certain moral code. And you find your morals through faith, whether it's faith in God, spiritualism, religion, or faith in your community, or faith in your family, faith in different traditions and networks and the meaningful relationships that you've engaged. But you have to have a certain moral compass. And I think if you stand on those 3 things, they become interconnected and you're able to create a safe space for you, your family, generations to come, etc. Now, the harsh reality, we're all here operating off of borrowed time. This is life and death. This is life. We're on a journey. We're all not going to be here forever. So it's up to us to shape what experience that we want to have in this lifetime. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Some people are saying, what is the solution? What are different things? All I want to say is, like, we can control where we're going, how we put these things together. And I think education is very key. I think group economics is very key. I think having a moral compass is very key. And regardless of the social injustice, the police brutality and stuff like that, it's very hard to kill something. Very, very hard to kill something that has duplicated itself. You know, God bless his soul, George Floyd. He's touched the nation. You know, he's touched the world. It's global. I look at myself and I say, what if the cop had his knee on my neck? And that's my ending. Is it really my ending? Have I forged real good relationships with a tribe of people, with like-minded individuals? Have I manned up? Like, did I stand tall? Am I a man? If I go today, does Rich Mutts know enough about Jim Yo to carry on my message, my principles and concepts? Did I forge a relationship with Mayor Leng? Does Antaj know something about me? Does the captain? Like, we have all of this stuff documented. And one thing I like about this group, and I'm gonna cut it short, I don't want to just ramble, is everybody was bold enough to meet their commitments. We interviewed the mayor, we interviewed the chief of police, and we did all of this work when there was no flaring emotions and high times, and they allowed us in their world. The mayor spoke about his grandfather and the impact that his grandfather gave him, the vision, the role model, the belief, and things of that nature. And it allowed me to go to my heritage and look at my grandparents and said, how did they impact me? You know, and to keep the conversation going, I want to sit with the mayor and not just talk police brutality and all this stuff. I want to tell him my background and my story with my grandparents, and that how it may have connected to his, and what was going on in those times and in these times. So I think it's healthy to have these type of conversations, and I appreciate you guys for these platforms. I'm hurt, I'm in pain. I'm trying to find creative ways for us to come together, for us to unify, for us to be more innovative than other communities, other police departments. And I'm trying to find all the different verticals, but I have to be honest, I have to let this, I have to dissect and let these emotions pass through, you know? But I think we all should focus on the solution and definitely come together. That's why I'll leave it.
Thank you, Jimmy. I'd like to go ahead and give Ms. Kim a chance to go ahead and speak. I know, Ms. Kim, I'm sure you have a lot that you want to go ahead and discuss with us. The floor is yours.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you so much, Antosh and Rich and Jimmy. And thank you to the Hamden Police Department. And thank you to the Mayor of Hamden. I'm not going to talk long. I got some feelings, but I have those feelings daily. And I just want to commend the Hamden Police Department because I do a lot of work with Deputy Chief Sullivan and Captain Samperi with block watches. I call them all the time. I think they want to turn their cell phones off on me, but it's okay. I'm coming at them every day. Nick, you know what? Nick, I forgot about you, but I'm gonna come at you too. Lieutenant Murgo, I don't know who you are, but I've done my homework on you. And Captain Ron Smith, listen, I honor you guys every day. I can't get out because of so many different things because I take care of my elderly father. So I did watch the march today down Dixwell Avenue. And again, I'm not going to talk long because I know this is supposed to be for questions from the community for us to answer. But I'm just honored because you guys all took the time out of your day, and I see you all as unity. I feel that we are going to make a change. And there are some people who wanted me to what they're doing. There's a gentleman by the name of Daniel Hunt. He's going to be doing some stuff in the town of Hamden with the Mayor Police Department community walks. There's so many different things that are going on in the town of Hamden that people do not even know. We see the bad stuff that always happens with different police departments, and it trickles over into our town. But with these gentlemen who are up here, these gentlemen have hearts. And I'm one to say this to a few of you up here. And I wrote it this morning. I could have you all at my table for dinner. That's how I feel about you all. Men don't get that invitation. But I'm gonna tell you, it's about coming together. It's about education. It's about respecting one another. It's about love. It is definitely about prayer, because I do a lot of praying. And if it wasn't for Rich, if it wasn't for Jimmy, and if it wasn't for the mayor, and if it definitely wasn't for the Hamden Police Department, we all wouldn't be in this forum right now. And also, Tosh, you're there. And Jimmy, we are still going to continue to do that Hamden Legends. And we got some more Hamden Legends that we're going to recognize too. And that is Chad Dawson. Chad, I'm going to get you involved. I'm going to pull you out of that house. I'm going to get you and your wife. You guys are going to be down with the Hamden Legends. I'm going to tell you something. There are so many people in the town of Hamden who won't stand up and talk, but I talk. And Captain Samperi can vouch for me. I'm always talking. I don't sleep, so I'm observing a lot. And I do want to send a shout out to your chief, Capiello, today. That's an honor for him to walk down the street on Dixwell Avenue today to walk with a group of individuals who was a peaceful protest in the town of Hamden. A couple of days ago, it looked great in New Haven a couple of days ago. And then all of a sudden it turned a different direction. That's not what Hamden's about. Hamden, we want to do positive things. And Murgo, you coming into Hamden, even though you're in East Haven, you coming into Hamden to work with us. But again, I'm going to stop talking because I know Ty and Rich, this is our platform. It's not my platform. It's not your platform. This is our platform. And this is how we are going to change things in the town of Hamden. We're going to change things globally. So thank you so much, guys, for allowing me to be here with you guys. And Ty, I'm going to end it now because I can talk all night. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So, Taj, can I say something real quick?
Yeah,
Taj,
sure.
can I just jump in real quick? So I had the pleasure of being able to sit with Deputy Chief Sullivan and Captain Samperi. They've been awfully quiet. And Detective Dolan, I haven't had the opportunity to talk to Captain Smith yet, but I know that there's questions that are being sent in to me and you from the community. Do you mind if we go to the questions and offer them up, the gentlemen that haven't had the opportunity to touch base yet?
Yeah, sure. I have a whole list, but here goes one for the Hamden PD. One of you could answer here is: do you have a plan to hire more police of color to represent the demographic of the town? Who would be? I'm not sure if that.
I'll take that, Antosh. Yeah, absolutely. We have made strides in doing that already.
Okay.
The department has changed a lot in my 25 years from when I first came on the job, the way it looks, and we're proud of that. We do a lot of recruiting. Captain Smith, who is in our internal affairs, he does our backgrounds, and he's part of the hiring process. And we reach out to every segment of our community to hire a vast difference of officers, which is what a police department needs. And the police department should represent what the community is. And I think we've done a good job. We need to do a better job. We're in a hiring process right now. It's tough times, just like it is in every other town with budgets. Hopefully we can hire. If that's the case, we have lists in place, and we look forward to reaching out to every segment of our community to hire.
Thank you very much for that. So I have also to follow along those lines. What are the plans to scale de-escalation training, process, procedure, reform, or other best practices from communities around the world who are doing this right? So has there, for the training, are you guys implementing anything new or anything different to try to avoid situations like this moving forward for the Hamden Police Department?
Captain Samperi, Detective Dolan, Captain Smith, feel free. It's your floor. Nick,
I don't mind giving a quick overview.
there we go.
I can tell you that the Hamden Police Department, actually, I'm very pleased to say, does 3 times the amount of required training already. And then when a number of things started happening in the community, there was a commitment made, and the commitment was made with, elected leaders in the community, and very much the police department never ever saying, I'm not interested in doing additional training. I'm not interested in learning this. I'm not interested in being part of this new initiative, this changed, evolved type of policing. It's always been an open mind, and it's always been absolutely, we'll be happy to participate in de-escalation and implicit bias training, and some of the trainings and suggestions that have been offered by our community leaders. One of the ones that isn't precisely directed to today's conversation, but is pretty darn close. One of the leaders from our special education PTA, it's called SEPTA, happens to be a professor in criminology, and she has a son that has a disability, and I connected her with Chief Cappiello, and they were talking about, what happens when a police officer encounters someone that has autism or that has a disability that they can't necessarily control what their reaction is going to be. And is your department prepared to not make what could be a deadly mistake, or could be, a harmful mistake when someone can't control themselves physically? And that not only led to, yes, we'll have that training, it led to, you're bringing so much information to us and knowledge, would you put the training on for us? So it's a very open and interested group that we have across the board that are interested in doing these things, and we've been expanding it. And every time that I've heard of something new and innovative, I've passed it up the chain to to our brass, and they've been interested in doing it. And maybe if Deputy Chief Sullivan could talk a little bit about a few of the things that have happened just pre-COVID and maybe during the last couple months.
Recently, we just had some officers from Birmingham do some training, de-escalation training for our entire department. Prior to that, after an incident nationwide similar to what just happened in Minneapolis, we called in the DOJ to do a training. Captain Smith, I believe, can explain it a little better what actually we did. So I'll let him explain that training that we had, which was not only for our department, but for all the area departments to join in, which was a huge success. So Cap, could you just expand on that a little bit?
So what we did was we had the Department of Justice conduct a seminar at our rotunda here at Town Hall. And we opened it up to all area agencies, and several area police departments actually attended the training. And basically it was a training session for us to just to understand how to treat people of all ethnic groups fairly, impartially, and just with compassion. It was actually a fantastic training. We all left the training feeling that, you know, we want to treat everybody like we would treat our own family members. You know, when people encounter the police, they may encounter us only once in their lifetime, and that makes such a big, big imprint on how they feel about us. So if it's a positive encounter, we could more than likely count on their support. So this training actually opened our eyes. And also, you know, with regards to training, the Hamden Police Department has trained regularly and quite often on many, many different training topics, including use of force, hate and bias, cultural diversity, verbal judo, de-escalation. There's a number of training topics that, you know, we're always attempting to try to be better. You know, we make mistakes, obviously, but it's not for not trying. We do train. We spend you know, a decent amount of money in our training budget to make sure that we are one of the most well-trained police departments in the state of Connecticut. And a lot of it has to do with people of color, people of different religions. We also, you know, hold a Citizens Police Academy in which we have 20 to 25 people from our community attend, and we talk about these same things. And we open up dialogue, conversation as to how we can make their quality of life better. What can we do? What do you see? And it's just such a great learning experience. It's been such a great success. So we're attempting to better ourselves all the time. And obviously, when something like this happens in Minneapolis, you know, it's a major setback for us.
I just have a,
Rich, if I could just add something on this training
please
topic,
do.
if you don't mind. So
Go for it.
a lot of the different ones that the captain was talking about, and the mayor and Deputy Chief Sullivan, it seems like the foundation of all these classes that we're getting is that communication is the key. So, you know, I have to applaud Jimmy and yourself, Rich, and Antaj for having this platform tonight, because any way that we can communicate our message out to the community and then hear back from the community what their needs are, I think moving forward, communication is going to be the key, and making sure that we have positive relationships developed in the community before a crisis hits, not after a crisis hits. You got to have the relationships developed beforehand. And I think our friend Kim Washington is a perfect example of that. We've been working with her for many years now in our Block Watch program. We worked very hard in town to expand that program, and we started off with about 5 to 8. We're over 20 neighborhoods now throughout town, and we're looking to expand it further. And you know, the motto that we always go with all of our meetings is together we can make a difference. And I think that holds true for this important topic that we're having right now. Together we can make a difference, and we're going to make a difference. We need the community's involvement. We need their input, and we're going to hopefully work together to you know, build a stronger relationship moving forward.
That message of unity, I think, is powerful, Detective. One of the and I have to ask a couple questions, and I'm gonna put 3 on the table right now that I've been getting text. So if I'm looking down, I'm just getting text. So and this is open to the group. One thing that I'm getting is we talked about the officers in the Floyd case, the officers that were just watching. And us in the community, I have to be very transparent. Us in the community, we hear these things about protecting your brotherhood, like a fraternity or a blue line or something like that. What would make an officer or 3 officers stand by and not even just whisper something in his ear or just say, hey, I got this. The guy was subdued, or was this, what would make that happen? So that's one. Another one would be as far as for Jim or for as far as entertainment or music or just media. Does the music or does the news or does the media push for people of color not to become police officers? So I think we'll start off with the first one. What would make an officer just sit by and watch that? I don't think anybody on this panel would. As a matter of fact, I know nobody on this panel would do that. But if you can give just a glimpse to the people that are at home watching and asking that question.
So, Rich, I'm gonna take this one. I can take when I took the interview for this job, I was asked 5 questions, and one of the questions, 17 years ago, when you went to an interview, you still kind of remember the ones that you were asked. And one of the questions that I was asked is, if you go to a scene and your partner or your backup unit is doing something wrong, what do you do? So police work has changed in the 16 years that I've been here. But 17 years ago when I took the test, that was the question that was asked. And the right answer is you got to do it. You're a police officer, you still got to do what's right. So if your coworker is doing something wrong, you have to do what's right. So taking it into what happened last Monday, I can't answer why those guys didn't do something, because it never would translate in my mind not to do something. You hear what I'm saying? Like, it's appalling. It's appalling to see that Asian officer not even turn around when the youth were screaming at him. And was he afraid of the guy, the senior officer? I don't know, but it really triggered something in me, in anger, to be honest with you, man. I'm angry that guy didn't even turn around. I think I posted something on Facebook, and you guys probably seen it. I would have taken care of that guy, and I would have dealt with him in the locker room if he had an issue with me, and I would have dealt with him in the parking lot if he had an issue with me after that. And the guys sitting here, they're all bosses next to me, but they know that if I have an issue, I'm going to let you know. And that issue cost somebody their life. And nobody that I would associate myself with would do that. If I was working with people that did that, I wouldn't be working here no more. And it's hard. People want to know what's the answer. It's hard for an officer to answer that question, because if you're out there doing the right thing and you're out there with the right intentions, you can't answer it because there's no reason for it to happen. So it's appalling, and I wish I could give everybody that's watching this an answer. I wish I could comfort you by saying this was going through his mind, that was going through his mind. But the bottom line is, nothing was going through his mind, because it shouldn't have happened. And the 4 officers that watched it, they're just as guilty, because we have a duty to act. And that means if the 5 gentlemen sitting in the room with me doing something wrong, or I'm doing something wrong, we all have a duty to act to make sure that it's taken care of.
Nick, I think that's an awesome perspective that you gave. And when we spoke about perspective and Detective Dolan talked about communication, I think that's huge. One of the other things that I hear and from community, I'm being the voice of the community now. This is a different hat. So I hear about these old days when police would do more community policing rather than versus law enforcement. So I would hear about the days when police would be walking the block watches in the neighborhoods, and they would know people by name and face, and this is Johnny's son. So, hey, come talk to me, Johnny's son. What happened to those days? Now it seems from the community's perspective, it's more law enforcement rather than community policing.
Can we
dispel these rumors? Please, can we dispel, is this myth? Is it fact? Is it fiction? Can we just discuss it?
Yeah, and I think that lends to the conversation that you and I have had in the past about recruitment, right? We want the best people for the job to police our community. And it's my opinion that who better to police a community than people who are from the community. I think to myself sometimes, would this have happened if 2 out of those 4 cops last Monday had known Mr. Floyd, had grew up with Mr. Floyd, went to elementary school, middle school, high school, played sports with his brother? That's the question that I ask myself. Would this have happened if they had known him? George, what's going on, man? You got a minute? Come talk to me. And it's that informal line of communication that you need to have with the people that employ you to have these positive interactions, as opposed to what happened the other night. And I'm with Nick on that. I don't know why those other 3 cops just stood by. We don't have an answer. Any good cop is shaking their heads right along with the rest of the community, because there is no good answer. I could tell you that it wouldn't happen in my agency. I could tell you that it wouldn't happen in most of the agencies in this area. And I don't know, again, if that's just the difference in training or the difference in cultures that make up police departments. But again, that could be a culture issue. Those guys could have just stood by because they didn't want the wrath of that guy and his crew in the locker room. And that's what we in modern day policing and progressive police agencies work so hard to try to root out. It's the culture that comes from the top, from leaders who are who are out of touch with society and out of touch with the community who they're supposed to serve. It's the culture that needs to change within these police departments, because had that been the culture there, and I don't know that police department, I'm not knowledgeable of the ins and outs of them, but I can tell you that had there been a different culture, those 2 or 3 other cops would have dragged that officer off way before Mr. Floyd lost consciousness and way before this turned into a national debate. So that's just my view on it.
Appreciate it, Jen. Thanks a lot. You're a joke. Sorry. So moving along, the next question I have is for Jimmy and Rich. What part do you think the music industry plays, in reference to making it, cool to be a police officer? Or I mean, that's definitely not their message. But do you think the negative impact from the perspective of the music industry, in particular rap music, right? You see the way they talk about police and make it kind of unappealing to become a police officer, right? And it's part of the culture, F the police, this, that, and other thing. You guys tell me, is that really an impact on the youth nowadays? Or, I remember when I was young, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a cop. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a lawyer, things like that. Is that still a conversation that we have with the youth today? What do you want to be when you grow up? Do they say cops nowadays, or is it, how do you feel the music industry influences people's outlook and perception on police officers' perspective?
I'm gonna take that one. So, music definitely has an impact to the youth, to the kids, and to speak specifically about hip hop, there is negative connotation about police, and there's these rhyme schemes and different dialogue. But music has always been the soundtrack to what's going on in the communities. When you had NWA and they had the "Fuck the Police" song and all that stuff going on. I know I'm cursing it. It is what it is. I see that look. But when they had that song, they were really speaking on their interactions. Music is a platform for you to be able to speak. However, with hip hop music specifically, pop in those times was a little bit younger. Hip hop is grown. Hip hop is pop culture now. So there's different dialogue and there's different information you can receive in hip hop nowadays. You can curate your own experience. At that time, the movement of conscious rap wasn't even out. And now you have different options. You have different fusions. It's not just gangster rap. There's conscious rap, you know, and shout out like Revolt Television for championing the music Rich Mutts was creating. And I remember when certain things happened, I was creating original content with Revolt Television, and we came up with something called Revolt Justice. And we wanted to have community leaders and influential people like the mayor and stuff to where we can bring them on and have the dialogue, have the conversation. If you look at people like Jay-Z, Rock Nation, these guys are all affluent, influential people in the music space, and now they're getting into reform. They're getting into politics. They're on the ground level of these different initiatives and things that's happening, and they're also taking their financial gain and putting resources behind families and people that are plagued by the social injustice. So I think, yes, there is a negative connotation. There is challenging dialogue that's infused in this music and in this content. However, there's a sense of responsibility, there's a moral code, and there are people that are creating and changing the narrative. You know, even with us coming together on the Legends platform and getting with the police, right? If I was the 19-year-old Jimmy, I probably would have been like, oh, you're having a conversation with the cops and with this, that, and I'm a father, you know? I'm a leader to my community, to my peers, and I need these stakeholders. And it kind of goes on to what we created this. By the way, the influence of having the support from the police department, from the mayor, from the city councils, from the Miss Washingtons and all that, for us creating the Hamden Legends platform, it pushed us to another level to where we created a nonprofit organization. And we're not doing that just to leverage the business side of things and all that. Is we now understand we have a duty, and we call our nonprofit Born Rich, because just like in music, everybody's glorifying riches, wealth, the flashy things, the material stuff. The theme of Born Rich is, hey, we always say when we acquire wealth and we get $1 million, there's 3 things that we're gonna have. We're gonna have a personal trainer, a chef, and a therapist. You have access to all that information, all those stakeholders now. That's why we say you're born rich, because you have these resources and these stakeholders today, day one. I never knew that I had the ear of the mayor. I never knew I had the ear of the police department. I thought I would have to ascend to a certain level to have these stakeholders in my social circle. We're born with that. A community is a community. The success leaves clues. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. Like these people are human beings. You just have to know how to engage and be bold enough to say, hey, I want an active relationship with the police department. I'm saying that today on this platform. I have an active relationship with the Hamden Police Department. I have an active relationship with the mayor, with different community leaders, with talented artists like Rich Mutts, with public figures like yourself, Antaj. We have to learn how to leverage our social circle and maximize the resources that we all have available to us today. If you are a young kid watching, if you're somebody that's looking for solution and looking for change, I'm here to say all of these resources are here now. You do not have to wait till you acquire some level of success or some level of wealth. You're born rich with all these resources already. We have it day one. So yes, I want to change the paradigm, change the narrative. The music business has definitely influenced what the human to human relationship is with police. But now we have the tools to change that narrative. If you watch Rich Mutts' video, we was in Austin, Texas, and we shot a scene with the police department in Austin, Texas. and we explained to them what we were doing, the message we was trying to convey. They said, you got 10 minutes, get to work, do what you got to do, and paint that picture. And we did. They supported our message. They supported our platform. So I challenge everybody to have a certain level of critical thinking and perspective. So not to be long-winded, it's a two-way thing, right? Hip-hop is grown, and I feel like I'm a guy that pursued hip-hop and was influenced by the culture, and I feel like I have a fiduciary duty to the listeners to be able to show them the benefits of having an active relationship with the police department and influential people in the community.
Hey, Taj, I just got one thing, Taj, really quick. I know we're in essence of time. We're going to be wrapping things up, but it all goes back to, just to piggyback off what Jim says before we get into a couple more questions and wrap it up. It all comes back to what we started with when I said that putting our pride and egos to the side. It took a lot. Like Jim said, the 19-year-old version of Rich wouldn't been able to reach out to the police department or even do the songs looking at the police perspective, not because I didn't want to, but because I was being insecure within myself to worry about what the community, my own community members would say to me. But I know God has given me this talent. I have to bridge the gap. Somebody has to bridge the gap. Somebody has to be that bridge between us and them so it can become we. And it all comes down to that perspective, putting our egos aside. And I can assure, no matter what the comments are saying, no matter what the world is saying, I can assure the gentlemen and the women in this particular chat have all put their egos aside, all put their pride and allowed the vulnerabilities and allowed that transparency to come out. And I know that for a fact. But go ahead, Taj.
Okay, appreciate it, Rich. Moving forward, Mayor Leng you have a question?
I'll be quick. I just want to chime in for half a second. Just building off what Rich just said, and this was talked about today, in the conversation that was after the walk. We need each other, and we're all in this together. And those are kind of corny statements in some ways, but look, that's the reality. Everybody needs each other to be successful. And I'm honored to be in this group. And every individual here has heart and has knowledge and has skin in the game to make things better. But beyond just those couple thoughts, you mentioned media, and there's not a person here that's news media. So I've interacted with news media a lot from working for different mayors and in different spots, and then as being mayor. So I'll throw this out, and I think it's a major issue. It's a major problem. We're not going to solve it today, but the news media is built on a model where they're funded by advertisement. And for whatever reason, we have a societal view that tends to watch things that are big. They're this huge weather event. You hear the weather. There's always, even when there's not going to be a gigantic storm, oh my goodness, there's going to be this and that, let's watch out. Well, when we come down to these serious issues and you're looking at both sides of what happens, you see pounded in every single local, state, national news, you see everything about the worst of what happens. The protests that have happened across the country. If you dig deeper, you see protests that have happened that have been really powerful. You shut down highways. People have shut down in front of different government entities, different buildings, but peacefully and meaningfully, and it's spoken and it's gotten through to people. But all you see if you watch, the 24-hour news is you see looting and fire and explosions, because that's what people, it grabs their attention, I guess. But what that doesn't, when it comes down to it, is, what does it do? It separates everybody even more, because then people are looking at it saying that, well, it's not really a peaceful protest and people trying to make change. It's just, rabble rousers or whatever. And that's the narrative that they're pushing. And on the flip side, on the police side, you rarely ever see the positive police story. There's positive police stories almost every day. These heinous ones happen, and they deserve the attention that they get. But in the middle, why can't we see a little more of the stories where somebody's impacted somebody's life, you know, and somebody's, you know, you'll see one where, oh, a police officer or a fireman, you know, saved a cat, saved a dog from a burning building. Yeah, wonderful, that's all. But they impact people every day, human beings, powerfully.
Mhm.
And that's not being covered. It's not being talked about nearly enough.
Yeah, you're right, Mayor Leng. You know, the news has a topic to sell, and they really push that narrative, and you know, they want to keep you on that screen. And you know, I myself, you know, through researching online and things like that, you know, I have seen the positive protests. You know, people out there giving great messages. There's also other police officers out there doing the same thing. It's, you know, it's just unfortunate that, like you said, like, you know, we need to start opening up our eyes to all the good that police officers are doing, as well as look at the negatives. You're right, Mayor. So I have some questions for you out of the comments section. For the first one, it's what's the okay, here it goes. It says, Black Lives Matter protesters have been trying to engage in dialogue with you. Are you open to a meeting or a conversation with them? Do you have any plans to connect with them? That's coming from
I'm always willing to meet and talk with whoever's interested in talking and having a conversation. That's my universal, you know, position when it comes to anybody. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. And here we go. What's the let's see. What's the systemic and legislative change that you're supporting?
So right now in this moment, I would say that it is and I'm surprised I'm even having to say this, because I feel like this is something that should have been said 100 years ago. But I think we have to reaffirm the police departments and the civilian side that oversees the police departments commitment to eliminating police brutality. And I don't think that anybody on this, and you know, I give free reign to anybody from the Hamden PD or our friends from East Haven. You know, tell me a reason why that we wouldn't endorse such a message and even such legislation. That's what our people are all about.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this moment, I just wanted to go ahead and I'm sure that maybe throughout the conversation, you guys probably came up with a few things that maybe you wanted to share. I just want to be able to go ahead and, you know, without asking you questions, if there's anything that any of you want to go ahead and share, or a message that you want to go ahead and give to the community that you didn't have the time to go ahead and speak on. The floor is open for you now to go ahead and, you know, say what you want to say to everybody that's out there listening.
I definitely want to tell everybody who's engaged and tuning in, thank you guys for your time, and everybody in the room, thank you guys so much. This is definitely heartwarming for me, and it gives me the reassurance that we're on the right path. Most importantly, I want to say that this is not a one-time thing. I'm proud to be able to see all the different faces on here, and they're familiar. We've had real dialogue. Even before the police brutality thing is going on, we've all been strategizing and putting together our efforts behind the scene to bring solution and value to the community. I always say integrity is doing the right things when nobody is looking. And I think everybody in this room should be proud of themselves, because we have been having this dialogue consistently and thinking of different innovative ways to reach to the community and bring value to the community. And this is it's a blessing. And then the communication, man, I always say we're at an advantage because we're using digital platforms and leveraging technology to get our message out there and to bring people together. And I thank you all, especially COVID. Like, nobody's even addressing COVID and health risk and the lives that was lost and all the diligent work. Like, I spoke with my mom yesterday, and she was like, man, this Mayor Leng, he's very good at updating us on what's happening and what's going on, and that gives me a lot of security. It makes me feel secure that she's able to get that information while I'm in Texas and she's in Hamden, Connecticut still. So I commend you all. I think this is one of many that's going to happen. And even just pushing the virtual learning, the virtual training, we didn't even know that this is what the world would turn to. When we was planning a lot of these things, we was creating programs, courses with the Born Rich Foundation. We've got therapists like Mandy Morris and influential people to come together, put together a 6-week course to give the community tools to challenge their childhood adverse experiences and their trauma and things of that nature. So the work is being done, and though I'm hurt deeply by what the community has to deal with and the passing of George Floyd and his family, I also feel good that we were doing the work and taking the proper steps before that even happened. When I seen those cops and seen their emotion and seeing what they was doing, I was so happy that I didn't see that reflection in the Hamden Police Department when I got to meet them. My first impression, my man-to-man humanistic conversation with the Hamden Police Department did not look like what was going on in Minnesota. And I'm proud to say that even Lieutenant Joseph, I never met you. I never had a formal conversation, but I know you. I met you through the documentary, and to hear the sincerity in your words, I mean, we're doing the right thing, and I commend everybody, man, for coming together. We just got to stay consistent and keep putting the work, man. Thank you guys, all of you guys.
Two things, and I'll be very, very, very brief because what's understood doesn't have to be explained. Like Jim said, we've been doing this before it became visible. So and from a community aspect, for everybody in the comment section in the community, now is your time to step up. Now is your time, not just because it's that trending topic. Now it's your time to step up. You can inbox me, you can inbox Antaj, you can inbox Jim, Miss Washington, the police department, and contact me on Instagram at Rich Mutts. Contact me. This is what we'll do. Hamden Legends. We're here. We're not going anywhere. We've been doing this before. We're going to be doing this after. There's going to be some of y'all that fall off the map when the next trend pops off, and then it's forget about this. And when George Floyd is just a hashtag, we're still going to be here working, Hamden Legends, working diligently behind the scenes. Now is your time to step up and just contact, and we'll put you in the proper position. Even if it's uncomfortable feeling, do it. Do what you need to do. And as far as that goes, continue to strive. I just thank everybody for being here. I know y'all have been on the clock all day long like I have, so I just wanted to say thank you all for everything, and Taj, and that's all I got to say. But now it's, as a community, it's time for us to step up, because there's a lot of comments in that comment section that didn't get addressed today. And with this, like Jim said, this is not a one-off. This won't be a one-off. We're going to continue to be here, continue doing this. The faces may change and the scenes may change, but the Hamden Legends legacy, this is what makes us legends, because we don't stop. We don't stop no matter what. So now it's time as a community to step up and do your part.
Rich, I'm gonna go off of what you said. I keep, if you notice, I keep popping off the screen because I'm trying to look at some of the comments. We're out there. We could promise you till we're blue in the face that we're gonna change, and we're trying. And you don't have to trust me. I hope people find a way to trust us, and we can get that trust back. And the only way we can do that is through our actions. But I challenge every civilian out there, wave us down, talk to us. Don't do it when it's the cool thing to do because everybody's doing it. Do it on a daily basis. We're out there 5, 6, 7 days a week. Some of us. Feel free to pull us over. Wave us down. Talk to the cop that's working your area. I'm a homegrown kid. I came from Hamden. I can go into any neighborhood and talk to anybody, whether it's ex-teammates or whoever, and yeah, it helped me when I first got here, and I'm getting older now when people move out of town and stuff, but, wave me down, know who I am, know where I work. You want, I'm reading some of the comments and we can't answer every one of them, but because we just don't have time. But feel free to have us pull over, ask us to pull in the parking lot, tell us what's on your mind, and somebody had wrote, mistakes are made when people are scared. Yeah, and it goes both ways, and if you have this perception of a police officer that they're this raging person who's going to bring you harm, feel free to talk to that person in a light when you're not called to respond to something, and see who that person is. If you live in a certain area, feel free to stop that cop. We usually work the same areas that we're in every day. Know who we are. Where are you from? What do you like? And I think that would go a long way, and it would build trust between the police department. We're out there working, we're taking calls. We want to try to do what we can do, but we always have extra time. And if somebody's not going to talk to you, then you should do what you have to do, and you should call our superiors and let us know. And if people are having issues with police officers or just on a daily routine, call us. And there's going to be a lot of cops that are watching this. They're probably be like, what the hell is Nick talking about? Don't say that. But call. Don't let us get away with it. Don't let it get to this point where everybody's so frustrated and so angry that, it turns into this. Nip this in the bud, man. Don't let people get away with stuff. Don't let people get over on you, But communication is key. And if we can communicate, then we can eliminate that fear. And what somebody said before, fear, when you're scared, you make mistakes. Well, if we can eliminate that fear, then we can move smoothly through our day.
Nick, I got one more thing, and I'm sorry, and I promise I'll black my screen after this. Todd, my bad. What we must understand is this, that racism, if we're talking about racism, because I see the comment sections, whatever, racism is a construct, right? And it does not hold up well to contact, which means I am a product of a biracial family. My mother's white, my father's black. So I've had the opportunity to hang around with all white people, hang around with all black people. And I always tell my white friends that don't have a lot of black friends, man, you need to get you some black friends because it's not how you think. And vice versa. My black friends that don't got a lot of white friends, you need to hang out with the white friends because what you're seeing on TV is not what it is. So that disconnect does not hold up well. And I know the community does not want to hear right now, because I don't want to hear it, gradual, baby steps, because we've been taking baby steps for 5 centuries right now. We don't want to hear that. But as a community, we can expedite the process if we step up to the plate as well. We step up to the plate. So I can't do this alone. Jim can't do it alone. Kim can't do it alone. Taj can't do it alone. The officers can't do it alone. You have to join us. You have to join us. And we're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it the right way. That's all I got to say, man. I love y'all.
Thank you very much.
All right. Ty, can I just say 2 quick things?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. First, I want to thank Deputy Chief Sullivan. About 2 weeks ago, there was an issue with a woman in the community. I called him. It was a Friday evening. He did not have to pick up his phone, but he picked up his phone. So it also takes just a few minutes just to listen. And I just want to thank you on the air, Chief Sullivan, for actually just speaking to the woman who, and you and I, we know who I'm talking about. She is so thankful right now. She sends me messages throughout the day just thanking you. I would have called Captain Samperi. I'm going to get on you in a minute. But thank you so much, Chief Sullivan. It's just, you took 4 or 5 minutes out of your time, and it was a Friday evening. You didn't have to do that. I'm thankful that you picked up your phone and you talked to me, and then you talked to a woman who you dealt with, and this woman is so excited now, like, really, it's just like a blessing. And I'm gonna switch it over to Captain Samperi. There was a woman today who lives around the corner from me on my block watch. She had some type of animal in her house that was coming through her pipes. I called Captain Samperi. I said, look, this lady, she got something coming in her house, because I know the animal control is under the police department now. I don't know what he did, who he talked to, but the animal control people were at our house like ASAP. So let me tell you something. It's about what Rich said, getting involved with our Hamden Police Department, getting involved. Oh, wait a minute. I gotta give this to Rich, and Josh, and to Jimmy. The superintendent, Jody Goldler, told me to tell you, and the assistant superintendent, Chris Mamillo, they would have loved to have been here, but they're in a Board of Education meeting, unfortunately, due to the budget. But getting back to Captain Samperi, if it wasn't for him calling or saying something to whoever he said in the police department, this lady needs assistance. It took a couple of minutes out of his day to do that. These gentlemen do not have to do that, but they know that I'm very persistent woman, so I'm going to stay on top of y'all anyway. But anyway, I mean, it's just a couple of minutes. That's all it takes. I've already spoken to the mayor about this before too. It only takes 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, not even 5 minutes, just to talk to somebody to make their day different. And that's what I just wanted to commend. And Tosh, we can do this if we can try to get this on like bi-weekly, monthly, because I know some people are sending me messages as well. They want to get involved. But like Rich said, you got to step up. You got to get involved. That's what this is all about. And Captain Samperi, we're not gonna leave until you talk. So I'm putting you on the spot right now. And also I want to say, when are we gonna get those police officers back on the beat walking again? So he can take that question. I'm done.
Good question.
You gave me a softball. I just want to back up a little bit and thank Taj for putting this on for us. You have no idea how much the Hamden Police Department appreciates what you're doing for us. I've been in law enforcement for 30 years. I've seen the ups and downs. You know, there's been some really good times for us. There's been some rough times for us. But when I met Rich and he put his program in front of us, explaining to us what it was, I was in, all in. It's exactly what, as command staff leaders of a department, need. Because you got to keep your people motivated. You need to have your officers motivated. If they're motivated, they're going to do a better job for you. When you meet Rich, he energizes you. He's just got that aura about him where, wow, this guy really wants to help. He wants to get involved in his community. He wants law enforcement to get involved. You know, and you listen to him, and he makes sense in what he says. We need to listen. We need to get involved and hear what the community is saying to us. You know, Jimmy touched on it a little bit. You know, police officers, we're human. We're human beings. We have the same fears. We have the same happiness from certain incidents that we may encounter. But you know, when it comes down to it, we don't want to always hear that our officers don't want negative. People hate police. Don't talk to police. Don't trust police. We're people. You don't want to hear that all the time. So when you get, you know, an opportunity to be part of the Hamden Legend project, it should excite every member of this department, because you're allowing us to have some of the tools to get our word out there, to get out what we're looking to accomplish, and that is together with the community to make a difference. Now we need to listen. Kim says she brought it up before. She likes to talk. She does, but she also listens, and we learn from her. She's got the ear of a lot of people in town, and she tells us what's going on. Now, some people may not want to contact us themselves. That's why when you meet a person like Kim Washington, you're blessed, because she's going to tell you the good and the bad, and we need to hear the good and the bad. We don't want to just hear the good. We want to hear the bad also. You know, this incident makes us sick. Every officer should be sick from this. No one likes to see a bad cop off the job better than a good cop. You know, that's something that everyone in this room, I'm sure, believes. So, you know, a lot of things that are going on right now are negative towards police, negative towards government. Instead of that, we all need to come up with solutions. It seems like, you know, with this project, some of the people that we met today at the march, it seems like everybody wants to have the same goal, and that's to get some solutions, to get everybody on the same page, to get everybody trusting each other and to get along. That's everybody's goal. I mean, we just all want to live our lives. We want to feel safe. We want to be happy. We want to, you know, expand our friendships with people. This is the platform. I can't tell you, I can't stress enough how appreciative we are of you allowing us to be part of this. And we're looking forward to this Hamden Legends event continuing. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
And Todd, I want to also say thank you for allowing us to participate. And I know there were a lot of people who had a lot more questions. And I don't know if you're up for it, but anytime you want to have us back, I know this group here all would love to come back and answer more questions for everybody watching. I know we didn't get to all of them because of time constraints, but you know, we'll do this once a week, once a month, whatever you want to do. Count us in.
For sure, I appreciate that. Appreciate that very much.
Taj, can I just jump in real quick? I just wanted people to know that this was supposed to be, Taj Tuesdays is supposed to be a 1-hour Zoom. So these people in the room, we're going on an hour and 45 minutes now. So that should tell you a little bit about the type of individuals that are here. And I know that Joe, Lieutenant Murgo, is chomping at the bit to say one last thing. So that's my guy. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Thanks, Rich. Again, I just want to thank you guys for the platform and thank everybody in the room for your dedicated service to your, particular communities. It definitely shows. With that being said, I just put the call out to everybody who wants to see change. And again, change starts from within. So these processes pop up every once in a while. Lately, they're popping up a lot more. Come work with us. Come put that badge, put that gun on, come work with us. I'll be your boss. These guys will be your boss. Squared away guys. It's a great job. We impact so many lives every single day. We change lives for complete strangers. We change lives of people that we may never see again. We change lives in ways that we may never know. And we do it over and over and over again. Times that by how many interactions police have a day, and it is a extremely rewarding career. So again, change comes from within. If you want to see change, be that change yourself. Come work with us. Come join the ranks of any police department in your community, and you will slowly start to see change happen. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Joe. And I as well like to thank everybody for coming out here today, taking your time. I know we went over the time. Sorry about that, but I mean, it was a great conversation. All of you, you put your hearts into it today, and I thank you for sharing everything with the community. I haven't yet been able to see the comments, but if you guys are willing to go ahead and do another Touch Tuesday, I'm for that. We could go ahead and get all the questions together, and we can just do one whole question answering session, right? Try to get through some of those questions and reach out to the community a little more. I know this time we were talking, more about the situation and things going on, but to be able to go ahead and have that pipeline straight to you guys from people in the community, I think is key with communication. Again, thank you very much for coming out. Mayor Curt Leng, I'm looking forward to come back home and visiting with you guys and having that cup of coffee. That's something that's great too. You don't have to flag them down. Just go have a cup of coffee with them. What question? Do you guys pay for the coffee, or do I pay for the coffee? Is it? Yeah. Oh, okay.
We'll spring for coffee.
On you guys. All right. Well, again, everybody, gentlemen, thank you, Miss Kim. Thank you so much for showing up. Everybody out there that's watching, thanks for coming to another Touch Tuesday. Follow me, Antoj77 on Instagram. And on closing, Miss Kim, would you like to say a little prayer and then closing for us?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Everyone here this evening, thank you so much for coming out, giving your time, your patience, and your understanding, and keep us all in prayer. Amen. Thank you so much.
Amen.
On that note, fellas, I'll go ahead and end the Touch Tuesday. again, I'll be reaching out to everybody in this chat to try to see if we go ahead and set this up again. It's great. It's great. I appreciate it so much for you guys and all that you do for the community that I'm from. And it's great.
Were you asking a
Thank
question?
everybody.
No. I was just saying thank you. Saying goodbye.
Thank
You guys-
everybody.
All right. Take it easy.
Thank you.